gender issues were different to what you experience in the service industry, maybe? Because it tends to be...
My CEO was a female, so, and that's not the norm, I have to say. And that obviously made a difference. The company was predominantly as well male in certain areas. The shop floor was mixed male and female because we had some departments which were predominantly male, like injection molding and pad printing, but then we had other areas which were predominantly female, like packaging, as one would expect. Okay, but then in other areas it was very much open. Even in management, we had both males and females. There were management colleagues and females who as well went through very similar experiences like I had gone through, and we encouraged them to do that. I suppose a lot of it came because we had Helga as the CEO, and who was willing to be able to give the opportunity, and we all wanted to do that as well. So that was a fantastic experience.
Would you agree with the statement that maybe, however, in such situations, it would be, it's dangerous, but it does happen that one falls into stereotyping certain roles within an organization?
That, for example, that you would expect of an HR person to be male or a packaging operator to be female. It happens. It happens. And it is, I mean, like we see, I've been nursing, teaching, you know. I think the molds are being broken slowly. It really depends on us women and men to be able to be open-minded to be able to do that.
People like yourself and like Helga Lou have contributed to breaking down these stereotypes as well, to perceiving the female within a leadership role within organizations.
I would like to think so. I don't think that, I think that Helga has definitely made, I think in any small way, any of the women here will definitely make a difference. All of us make a difference to that. It's about how we raise our children, what we do in organizations as well. I mean, I have battles still with colleagues. You feel, why should we get in sometimes a female name? You can't say it, you know, you wouldn't say it. But there are still battles, and there are young men who think that way. There are sometimes even young women who think that way, you know, which is even more worrying. So it's a question of even how we raise our own children and trying to argue that it's what it is, and that is really what it is. It's what performance matters at the end of the day. I'm digressing, but if you, for example, would ask me of an opinion about this whole issue of quotas, which is such a hot topic, obviously, my own very personal feeling is that I would never want to be part of a quota, you know, definitely. And I was only at a meeting some time ago in the chamber, and even jokingly, someone mentioned that I was there because, you know, we needed it was a joke. But you react to it. I mean, and I don't think I reacted very nicely to it. But I don't think any woman, all right, or even any man would want to have someone who is there just for joking. I mean, if on our Farsons board, okay, for example, I was there in whatever role, or any board, the central bank board, because I was a woman, I would be extremely offended, and I think it would be a big disservice, for example, to Farsons, to the shareholders, if we had a director who was there because she was female, not because she could contribute, all right, and she could give something back to the organization and to lead her. So I think most females I know would be extremely offended by that. At the same time, feet on the ground, I have to be really really honest and admit that there are positive things of the quota. There's still a lot of bias, all right? There are still minds that need to be opened, and doors that need to be opened, and glass ceilings that need to be shattered, okay, regarding women. Because the reality is that sometimes women, for various reasons, okay, fail to make it to the top, sometimes because of commitments they have at home, or because of mentality. So having a quota might get people to think differently, okay? So if it is done properly, I can understand. But if anyone is put there because of a token, I would have a really serious problem with that. Okay? And I think most women would have a really serious problem with that. I don't know how you would feel, but I don't think any of us want to be numbers, and not even the men who don't want to have just females on working with them just because they're female, you know. We all want to have the right performance at the end of the day. So I think, I don't know, but I feel very strongly about that.
What's the men-woman ratio within the Farsons?
Okay. Within the Farsons board, the board of directors, we have one female, and I'm company secretary on our board. Within the management team, we have the senior management team. In the very senior, I'm the only female, but then in the extended, slightly extended one, we're 13 and 3 are female. And that includes the person responsible for sales and the person responsible for marketing. Okay? 2 people who have been within the Farsons group for many, many, many years. Not that they're very old, but they have been with the group for many years. They have a lot of experience, and the company gave them the opportunity to grow. Louis Farouja is the type of person who feels very strongly about that. So that is good, and he is very conscious. But we are predominantly male, and I have my struggles. I have my struggles to introduce flexible working, to get some people to understand, even on Farsons, that it's okay, you know, we can't trust people to work from home, and that people are not necessarily, they probably would work much harder if they work from home, and it's going to save us costs on infrastructure, on this and the other, and all the arguments we know about. But still, some people cannot make the leap. The man can leap to get people to work from home. So we go about it by pushing the agenda, and then setting up some case studies for we hope will be successes, and could lead on to others. So we try to do that, and we've started it, but there are struggles. There are struggles to do that even in large companies like Farsons. And I said, I wonder, it was setting up, taking over from the museums department. I spent 5 years at Heritage Motor. They were very, 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 very good years. Very good years. Very tough years, extremely tough years, because this was not starting an organization from scratch. We were taking people who were museums department people, who felt that they were the bottom of the list. Anyone who was not wanted anywhere in the government department, they felt, went to the museums department and became a fossil in the museums department. And I did find some of these people, but I also found a lot of people who were in what was previously museum because they cared for our heritage, they studied, they loved what they were doing, but were never given the chance to do that. So in a way, it was the ideal position for someone who has a background in HR and believed in people to take that challenge. You know? I had a number of challenges there, political challenges, board challenges, believe me. If you looked at the newspapers of the times, I was in the headlines once or twice and had serious problems. Serious problems. And I remember going to the cabinet every week for about 3 or 4 months and being under huge scrutiny. And one day, I'll tell you this. No joke, and the Prime Minister used to tell me, but Antoinette, slowly, slowly. We can't do these things. And he said, what do you want us to give you a wedding dress? Because that was the kind of example, you know, because I think because I was female. I said, no, Prime Minister, I want is enough to be able to, you know, create the right petticoat. And I was like, okay, you've got it. You know, and yeah, that was the example. And we had a good start. It wasn't at all easy, but we worked with the stakeholders, with the people. We had the first, no, let me tell you this about, because I'm trying to put this in the context in the examples, you know, this is what I'm trying to do, right? Now, so, museums department, public sector, and we want to create a culture. And I was trying to believe that I could make a difference. At the end, there is something I feel I failed in, and I'll tell you later about that. But, obviously, we needed to change the ways of working. We came to an environment when we had this ex-museums department. Museums worked half days in summer, Monday to Friday, when you had your peak season. Closed Saturdays and Sundays, okay? people totally discouraged and not motivated, and we started to speak to the stakeholders. We wanted to upgrade, little or no money. Not that they have any money today, to be honest, but anyway. And we managed within just over a year to pass a collective agreement where we changed the ways of working completely, introduced shift work, worked 7 days a week, opened the museums from 8 o'clock, all right, to at least 6 or 7 o'clock, including Saturdays and Sundays, and creating a new structure. And when we went to pass the collective agreement, and we had been speaking to people and talking, telling them what heritage and trying to motivate them, which I believe we did, we took all the people to the hotel, the Ramla Bay Hotel, all right, at the north side of the island, created a presentation together with the unions. When I made a presentation, together with the unions, with the chairman, with everyone, with my senior management at that point in time, trying to explain to them where we're going as a company and what this collective agreement meant. And we have to know how different, try to understand that scenario from where we come to the museums department, to this, to getting to accept these working practices. And this is now 2002, 2003, Saturday and Sunday, half days in government is still an issue today. Okay, if you can remember the paper. And the collective agreement passed with 1 vote against. To me, that was one of the most satisfying days of my life, I tell you. Okay, we went straight to the bar, everyone after that. But it was working with the unions, with the people. That was the biggest. That was the biggest. And we managed to continue building. We had a lot of challenges, a lot of challenges, which today, some of them are still there, some of them have been overcome. There are some real excellent people whom I feel very strongly about and who are very underestimated, people who are unassuming. Okay, if I could, I would bring them here and bring them to you, because they are the people who really have helped to make the change. The problem is that most of the time, and this is the failure, is that they are stifled because of other issues. Okay, what I underestimated when I went for this job is obviously the influence, and I won't say politics only with a big P, is the political influence. I might have been, might have some leadership qualities. I might have had a board who was backing me at the end of the day, but I did not I underestimated, okay, those other influences. Okay, and that teaches you another things of life. That teaches you other things.
Was this experience different in any way to the manufacturing field which you had left?
Well, I mean, the political is obviously different because politics, when we were, exactly, it was the museums department, and so downtrodden, no one took any interest in us. But when we started to achieve, we started to get a lot of interest, and that was the downside of it, so when we started to have some little bit of success, obviously we got a lot more of attention, and that has some downside to it as well. And heritage deserves a lot of attention, I assure you. There's a lot to be done, and there are some really good people there. So yes, the politics is, and what is similar is that in both organizations, we managed to get the motivation of the people, some excellent people, some really good people, and there's people who really made a difference. So there, I did not. And a lot of people say, "Ashtal Gvern," and what they think and whatever. I will not accept that. Okay, I will not accept that, because I really believe, and I've seen so many people in different departments in heritage who are really motivated, who can work and can do that. A lot depends on the leadership, being very clear what you want to achieve, getting the people behind you, and incentivizing what people will do. And even if you're running your own business, all right, I mean, what kind of leadership you have, what kind of attitude you take to that, how you get your people behind you will make a big, big difference. Okay, so the people issues, on the one was public and private sector, I think were very similar. And see, if anything, they could have been a bit tougher in the public sector. Okay, but because of attitudes more than anything else. The management, I think, both achieved very much. Sometimes then it started to become the freedom to operate. Okay, sometimes within the public sector, you start to get bogged down and tired because of certain issues.
Maybe bureaucratic issues as well. That's would not be present in the private sector?
To a certain, yes, very much so, Roberta. And to a certain extent, you understand it because don't forget, in the public sector, we're working with your money. Okay, we're working with the money of citizens at the end. The government budget is our budget at the end of the day. So we have to be very careful how you use that and what you do, and you have to be accountable. But then there are certain bureaucracies and there are certain other elements as well which come in. But the union issues are there. The strategic issues are there. I think part of the success we all had together there was because we treated this, our Heritage Malta, very similar, as much as we could, within the limitations, as a private organization. And it's the mentality which you go into, which makes a bit of difference. But it was a very enriching time. We had our fair share of mistakes, okay? But again, very positive.
May I ask you, when you sort of felt it was time to move on, when was it that you felt it was time to move on?
I spent 5 to 6 years, about 5 years at Heritage Malta. It took a lot of me, it drained me a lot. At one point in time, I was approached by Lufthansa Technik, who were setting up in Malta, and asked whether I would want to go on board Lufthansa Technik. And again, a lot of soul searching, and I decided, okay, I didn't look for this. I felt I needed a change for the reasons I was mentioning. I was very sorry again to leave because again it was part of me. And I felt a bit like a traitor. But I decided to go to Lufthansa Technik, again to another German company, very different to Playmobil, because Playmobil is a family business. It's a family business which changed tremendously, even abroad. During the time I could see it changing very much. We were very separate from Germany. Yeah? We were very separate and wanted purposely to keep ourselves close to them in strategy, but we wanted to show ourselves not as the extended branch, but as a separate company to be looked at, and that gave us a lot of strength. With Lufthansa Technik, it was different. Obviously, a huge organization, one of many other companies setting up. The whole approach is much more professional, and a very interesting company. We had taken over a number of people who came from Malta, okay, in the setting up. So there were a lot of cultural issues, a lot of union issues. There as well, we had 3 or 4 unions. Needed first collective agreement, major changes. We introduced there for the first time, before any legislation. We did this without any legislation. We introduced, the first company to introduce a Malta banking of hours when we were there, which was critical because aircrafts, the airplanes, fly in summer, and most of them, or at least now it's changing, but a lot of them used to be grounded in winter because of the flights, okay, and because obviously this is when the maintenance was being done, etc. So, and you needed to bank your hours so that you don't have to pay excessive, because we had to compete because of the pricing at the end for maintenance, which translated to seat pricing and to all the issues that we hear because of the low-cost airlines. Okay, there's a long argument to be made. So we needed to keep our costs down, and obviously we needed to make sure that we had the hours available in summer and do less hours in winter. So we came up with the concept of banking of hours, which has its basis on time off in lieu, but is a bit more complicated than that. And we tried to keep it simple. We wanted to introduce this, practically unheard of. We were removing overtime from our people, basically. Then a new company setting up 4 different unions, including the aircraft engineers, which is a powerful union. Okay. Again, issues of trust, understanding, vision, part of an organization, and so similar issues.
Change management, similar.
Change management, and I think HR is very much about change management, about building trust, having clear vision, having clear leadership, fitness for purpose, getting the right attitude in our people. I mean, I'm talking very quickly about very serious issues, you know, and it's energized and synergized issues. We managed to do that. It was not easy because we had a mix of people. We also brought people from Malta with certain set ways, but there were people who were wanting to change, but had known our Malta culture for many years. We also had no young blood, okay? So what we did is that we then went to MCAST and started discussing opening courses at MCAST for aircraft engineers. We set up, together with MCAST support, who was also growing, MCAST was growing, and we developed 3 courses, or 4 courses, together with Lufthansa Technic Training. So we brought over, because we wanted to transfer the skills to Malta. We set up these courses, and then we sent, and we got people on board. We went on to the schools, whatever, men and women. I was trying to get as many women as we could. We succeeded, but not as many as I would have wished, and some of them are still there today. But then what we had to do, where are we going to train these people, and how are we going to train them? And you know where we send these people to train? We send them to Manila, the Philippines, to train. So we had to take young people, 17, 18, 19-year-olds, to Manila, speaking to their parents, meeting them there. We had all sorts of issues, but we had some very, very, very good people, some very good students, exemplary students. And Manila is not an easy place, weather-wise. The people are very warm and very nice, similar to the Maltese, even religion, even community, but
it was risky.
It was, and it's more than halfway across the world. And there are all sorts, and we had 1 or 2 silly cases as well. And it's a big responsibility to send all those young people to Manila. I was there for some time. Another huge learning experience. A lot of changes. You're right, Roberta, it was a lot of change management. By the time I left there, the average age was about 18, 19. So the balance had tilted completely.
What you really wanted to achieve, that
was what we needed. That it was the only way to keep getting Lufthansa going. Even, I mean, now they have, I would say, a good core group of people. It's a very difficult industry, a very challenging industry, a very competitive industry. Even in Malta, the competition has grown very much. As you know, there have been different aircraft maintenance companies that have set up, SR Techniques, there's Medavia, very challenging, competitive, even Mediterranean ones, companies have closed down. So you're training people, you're hearing companies closing down. So you're saying, you know, what career are we offering these people, you know, and even how to remain competitive. Because even Lufthansa Technik generally was looking at all its sites and seeing where it's feasible or not. And the government had put a lot into, you know, bringing Lufthansa Technik over, not only the financials, but, you know, the policies, what needed to be done. So it was a very, another very enriching experience. Set up very male environment, very male, extremely male environment. We had today the person who looks after the aircraft planning is a female engineer who we recruited when I was there. She's very, 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 very good young woman, very determined. Okay, has really done a fantastic job, and so have all the males, but obviously it's good to see that a female has grown in that position as well. I don't think she cares because it's female or male, you know, at all. She does a fantastic job.
What have been your strengths throughout, you could say, these very challenging situations where you've managed to instill change? You mentioned we very much, so yes, the collective, definitely the collective effort. However, what would you say were your personal strengths for students as well to build on, to nurture within themselves? What would you say?
And I think in HR, the fact that we use the we is really, really, really important. When I was at Playboy, we had the magazine we called We, and everything was we. We introduced the culture around the we, you know, so we had We Care, we had the welfare fund, which was called We. Everything was we. We this, we this, we this. And our magazine was We. And Farsons, what I'm trying to introduce with the concept of team, together everyone achieves more, right? But in a similar concept, but very challenging. What has been the personal?
Yes, if you have to say what have been my strengths?
Have been my strengths? Probably my strengths are also my weaknesses. One is that I feel I have a lot of passion, but the passion sometimes brings in a lot of emotion. So it's a plus and sometimes it's a minus. So you want to drive, you want to achieve, you feel that you're not achieving enough, or there are things you could do better. Sometimes the fact that you are a woman and you feel you have to even strive even harder to get accepted and to do things has been a plus. Okay, but sometimes you always feel as if, is it enough? Should I be doing more? Should I do this? And that strives you to achieve more. I hope that that is something, this drive, I think, is important for men and for women. The fact that you feel, continue, my children will hate me to say this, but that you continue to feel young, you know, that you want to learn, to innovate, to understand that you don't know it all, not to have a chip on your shoulder. Nothing comes easy. Some of you, I don't know, but I have friends of mine who might have a family business, you know, and who are destined to take up a post. We have the same with Farsons, you know, but how easy it is to overcome, you know, it's about just taking on a role because you've got that role is not going to achieve a lot of respect, all right? Or I think you really have to strive to win the respect of the stakeholders, of your employees, to get them to do that. Okay, some of us have it a bit easier because we might have it because it's the family or for whatever reason. But to really win the hearts and minds of our people, you really have to achieve it to get success. And even in management and HR, I think a lot is about trying, we discuss this, is about building the fires within our people, not beneath our people. Okay, and that's a big struggle. It's about our soft skills, it's not about the hard skills, and that is what I really urge you. I have been conscious of that, and I think that has been a plus, and the fact that one empathizes.
What would we tell students who would like to embark, for example, on a career in HR, or are interested, or maybe undecided about a career in HR? What would you tell them that are, you know, similarly in age to your children as well?
Okay, can I be a bit emotional for a minute? But if you really believe, right, and you have to put yourselves in your shoes, if you really believe that people can make a difference to organizations, and think of yourselves, do you like to be treated like cogs in a wheel, or do you have values that you feel you can contribute? If you really believe in the energy of yourselves, and you really believe that people can make a difference, all right, then HR is a strong believer. It's an agent of change. It can help organizations to set their vision, to facilitate this vision, not only by the process itself, but by also facilitating the light leadership, facilitating the change process. But you have to approach it strategically, professionally, with emotion, with vision, and be prepared to work really hard. You can do it, like the textbook says, and be administrative. And the danger is that a lot of people might do that. But if you're really looking at it as helping the business to grow, all right, and getting a deep understanding of the business, not a superficial, and being part of that change, then you can really make a difference to the organization and to people's lives. You know, one of the biggest satisfactions is not the achievements that we've been speaking about, okay, but part of the achievements are little things, like someone was saying, it's not really tough, you know. When we had started, I had embarked on this career, you had helped me, like people had helped me, you know, and, or you know what, I've managed to achieve, or what's this and the other, and people who still speak to me after 20 years and come to talk to me about, you know, what they've done and not done, and that is really gives me a lot of satisfaction. Besides the business side obviously gives you a lot, but that is, so yes, do it. Probably belief can make a difference is the way you approach it. Okay? And you don't have to be an HR manager, especially in small businesses. And most of you can be professionals. You can take up whatever role, but if you have this people aspect within you and really believe, you can be HR managers in whatever profession you are. You can be CEOs, you can be engineers, you can be accountants. But if you do that, remember that. All right? Remember that, because I think it will make. Because most organizations don't even necessarily have to have an HR manager. All right? Especially when we are so small.
So it's the values that you carry with you in whichever role that you're going to carry out.
That, and yes, very much so, Roberta, very well put. But also helping the organization to set its values, its culture, and organizing. That is also a role. And if you're not an HR, but you can make a difference to your organization, then go for that as well. Because culture is important. At the end, it will distinguish. Strategy, I don't need to tell you this, you know it much more than I do as well. I mean, you're studying this, so but having a very clear vision, having a very clear purpose, having the right people, all what I'm saying, can make a real difference to the long-term business success of an organization. Okay? And people can truly, truly make a difference. Okay? And the leaders who manage those organizations have a huge responsibility, and for me, leadership is a critical element, critical. Okay? And I hope that all of you, whatever role you do, okay, will always be leaders. Don't only be accountants, or don't only be engineers, or don't only be, but be leaders. All right, be leaders. That's what this country needs, and that's what your organizations need, and that will make a difference to your careers. You're still very young. Most of you have at least another 40 years of work ahead of you. It's a long time, huh? It's a long time. So we want them to be happy times as well, and motivating times most of the time. It's a long time to work, believe me.
So would you say you're sharing with us the vision of HR, that HR has a leadership role in organizations? Is that your vision of HR? Is that it lies at the core of a business, of an organization?
There could be some people who think I would be exaggerating saying that, but I feel very passionately about it, that HR can be the facilitator, a main agent of change in the organization. It's the visible face of management in the organization. Although I think all management should be visible, okay, but HR can help to facilitate that, and it can help to make the long-term difference to organizations. At the moment, everyone, including HR, is about cost savings, cost cutting, sustaining, making sure that we add value, downside, right-sizing, valuing our processes and everything. But what we also do in all of this, even if we were cutting Farsons over the past 5-6 years, we reduced our headcount from 650 plus to less than 400. You didn't hear about this, did you? We didn't have strikes. It started before I went there, so I can't claim to have been the motor behind this. But we managed it. People have changed their roles, and we've cut costs. But what is important is that we keep on motivating people at the end of the day with this, and we're trying to reduce the age. Hanging on to certain experiences. With Farsons, we're having to unlearn a lot of things, which is very difficult. Sometimes you wish you could start afresh rather than unlearning. Okay, and all of you, especially if you, I don't know if any of you have dreams of becoming entrepreneurs. Okay, business, if you do, I really wish you all the best, and I think it would be a wonderful thing. Malta needs entrepreneurs, needs young people who have their own business, service, whatever. Go for it. Find the right mentors, the right support, and go for it. And go abroad and study and do whatever you feel you need to do. Dream and go for it.
I don't know if you agree with me. Maybe we could take some questions. Any comments you may have, anything specific that you may wish to ask?
How important, HR in Malta, do you think it's becoming increasingly important? If we decide to study it as a specialty, how easy will it be for us to find jobs and to set ourselves up in that industry, in HR?
I think, hand on heart, there is much more awareness than there was 1986 about HR, no doubt about that, I don't have to say that. And there are many organizations of varying sizes that realize the importance. Do they realize what really it can do? No. We still pay a lot of lip service to HR, and people because it's still, although we go through a lot of change and cost saving, people still think that it's a good thing to be seen to be doing, and to say you have an HR manager or an HR role. There are some organizations that are doing it really, really well, financial institutions, even in the e-commerce. You can see I have colleagues of mine, and even in mobile telephony, who are doing an excellent job. So there are openings, even in training, because HR has so many, is really broad, so many facets in change, in training, and performance management, which I think is going to be key even more. The whole performance issues tied. So yes, I think that there are still a number of people, even in HR themselves, who have done it, and who are still locked with personnel administration, which is still important because we need to have our policies, our procedures, our legal, it still needs to be done. So yes, But I also think that HR can be an opening for different things. Individually, in my different roles, most of them have been in HR, but I think it has been a great asset. So the exposure, how you look at it, can help to facilitate get you into different things as well. So I definitely wouldn't discuss, but I'm biased. I am biased.
So it helps any leadership position.
Yes, I would. And what is important is not obviously that you know all the basics and go to the course and do your dissertation, whatever. But it's to have the right attitude towards HR and the right passion for it, because that's what makes a big difference, I think. Yeah.
Did you ever experience a conflict or an issue at Farsons regarding the stereotypes?
Yeah, there are. Yeah, at Farsons and everywhere. I can tell you, this is not Farsons. Let me start from this. So I'm cheating a bit on your question. But when I was at Playmobil earlier, 20 years ago, I remember, I never experienced anything like this. It was the only time I experienced this. I was doing interviews, for a position within HR. I had started, and we were restructuring and looking, because obviously we were going through when you want changes, and I was looking for someone to work closely with me. And I put in an advert for a management post in HR, and interviewed a number of people, men as well. And when we were doing the interviews, this person walked in and we were introducing, and after a few minutes he realized that obviously if we chose him, he would be working for me. This person got up, walked up and said, I could never work for a woman, I'm very sorry. And again, it's the only time it happened in my whole life, but it's something I remember forever. But it never happened again, thank God. Yes. Stereotypes? Yeah, yes, there are.
Was there preference between gender when there was a job offer?
I don't, well,
Again, recruit a female truck driver, for example. If you have to recruit
if we could, yes, I would, definitely. I might have some people who would, but today they would know that, as HR, we were known to push it completely. We introduced an engineer recently, a female engineer, we have, if I could find the technicians, female technicians who wanted to come, I would be more than happy, because I think that female technicians bring something into the workplace, which is additional and a value to the organization. It would do Farsons good to have female technicians. We don't have one female technician, and that's not because we won't recruit a female technician, it's because there are no female technicians who either want to come or who are interested in that area, despite the fact that we go there, we apply, we bring the students there, a lot of people would prefer service industry still, so we do a lot of work. We try to get people to understand the role that manufacturing has. One of the dangers that manufacturing is facing the most, as people think that it's a dying sector. It's not. And God forbid that it would be that it's changing its face. And the competence base, yes. But if it were dying, I think we would have a serious problem on more. And I think a lot of people are working to ensure that doesn't happen. But if you're mentioning this thing of the stereotypes, for example, I have an issue. We've applied, like many other organizations, but it wasn't, we applied for it because I think we needed to apply, because we have been applying this for many years, the equality mark from NCPE. And we hadn't gone for it. And I said, okay, we should have it because
it looks good on the
it looks good. I believe that we don't know the things that we need to do, so let's apply for it. And when we came for the final thing, we got a stumbling block. And the stumbling block was, believe it or not, what I'm arguing, is because we have some job titles which are, for example, foreman, craftsman, etc. Now, to me, this is like the chairman thing and whatever else. It's very clear that I would have absolutely no problem having a craftsman, which is a woman. And what we're having in place is make sure that that the organization is friendly and open to females and working with the schools and everything to do that. And the fact that the Quality Commission has a difficulty, which I can understand, or make you use the word, ask you to use the word supervisor instead of that, which I would not use the word supervisor, because for me the word supervisor is even worse than foreman, because supervisor means you're supervising someone, and in leadership today you don't want to supervise, so for me the concept is completely wrong. Okay? So I would rather use foreman, and I'm trying to make a case. Well, because once they came like a ton of bricks on us, because we had it in the advert that we were looking for technical foreman, and we still left it, and then it was okay, because we obviously showed them that it didn't make a difference. But did we, but at the end, it was difficult to find a male foreman who was interested in coming, let alone, a female foreman. And that is the reality, the problem with the technical careers in general, So stereotypes, yes. Okay, from all levels, they do exist. They come from men and women, even from women, and they come from older people and from younger people. Don't think that it comes from the traditional older male only. You'd be surprised where the biases come from. You'd be surprised. But together we can make a difference.
And so what you say, one could say that stereotyping starts at career choice.
It starts with the family, the way we raise our children. I think it makes a difference even what we say. Okay, the message and all the company coming across it, education, home, everything, isn't it? Sorry.
When it comes to changing the culture of an organisation, where do you find it best to start from? Like you did that here this month. Like how do you get the ball rolling of changing the culture of an organisation?
Let's say it has to be, obviously for me, winning the people was critical. But you can only win the people if the most influential, for me, remember what I mentioned before about making sure that the people who make a difference in the organisation can support it. So if you're the most influential people, or normally are your CEO or whatever, can really said, do not believe in that, it's going to be very tough. Okay? You can still achieve and keep on persisting, because obviously you try to do it now with HR. One of the difficulties, it's not always easy to give tangible results. The bottom line isn't directly measurable, although we all try, and you will try to bring in all the measurables, because there are parameters, even payroll linked to leave and so many other things and performance, and we do it. But some of the things like culture are very difficult to measure, even if you have your climate survey. How do you always link that? And there are issues. So definitely, winning the influential people and putting that on the agenda is critical. Okay, for me, I think is important. Also finding your champions in the organizations, and the champion for me was also critical. And the champions can be not only management colleagues, but it can be people across all levels. For me, winning over the shop stewards, getting the shop stewards over, for example, or people who are influential in a team. You can have, even on the shop floor, you can have people who are on the line, but they're on the same level, but that one person affects all the others. For me, identifying those people, getting them to understand, working with them, okay, help to cascade a lot of the messages, and working with them to translate it, which will make a big difference. But I think the leadership is critical, and then having these champions is also critical. So really from different levels, and there are so many tools one can use, many tools. And being able to trust and say that I've done it wrong sometimes. And telling people that it's okay to say that we've done it wrong. And taking it out again.
Have you ever had any problems with the psychological contract? And how do you overcome that?
I never went out to anyone saying enough. We never spoke about psychological contract. Never. In any organization and whatever. How aligned a person and how engaged a person is what we're talking about more. Okay, this is personal to a certain extent, in the sense that if you're talking about psychological contract, I don't like to use that very much, because people tend to think that you're trying to get even more out, getting more out of them, and there is contract tied to it. So what I spoke about before, about lighting the fires within and engaging people people underlining and saying that this is a win-win situation and what are you going to get out of it is what we've been trying to build slowly. I feel, I mean, at Farsons we're not there yet. All right, we're not there yet, and we have real issues. And one of the problems that I face, for example, even with, and that's why I also do not like to use it very much. That is because if you have a contract and it's broken in a certain way, and that could break because you can have influential people who are leaving or because there's some trust issue, then it's very difficult because then it seems as if the contract has been broken. And so rather looking at it in a way as being part of the culture and trying to get people really lighting these fires within them and be able to do that. So yes, there are issues and it's a long-term thing. And for me, one of the biggest challenges is not especially where I am now, is not the people on the shop floor, all right, or even the technical people who want to contribute and feel that they can contribute. It's also sometimes the success of the organization, because when we're doing very well, and Farsons is doing it, thank God, very well, okay, then it's very difficult to understand why you need to do certain things as well, okay, and if you're looking at long-term growth, and getting people to perform even better, and to look at the softer issues, some people who have achieved much, the technical people, the commercial people, why on earth and why should that one be coming to us and telling us about lighting fires and that communicating with people and doing this even more and trying to get the cycle of why? We've done so well, okay? And trying to say, look, we can do even better, or we won't achieve much more if we're not going to address these issues which people are dropping out. So we do an engagement survey, okay? And you realize that there are issues in the organization, and people think you're being soft or you don't really need to do that, but they are real issues. But the company is performing well. Now that has been one of the major issues that I'm facing, for example, at this point in time.
Thank you very, very much. It's been inspirational to me listening to you, and I'm sure also to the rest.